Hey, what's going on, you guys? My name is the Raptor, and to kick off 2024, we return to our yearly tradition of putting together a Dream Death Battle season. This is now the fourth time we've done this, and you guys seem to enjoy them, and once again I have asked the members of my Discord server, link in the description by the way, to provide me with all of the ideas I could choose from for this roster. This is meant to be completely separate from the upcoming Season 11 or any other official season, meaning no Wily versus Tom will be included, and I've also made sure to not include any previously used matchups in these Dream Season videos. I highly recommend checking those out if you like this one because I think we made some pretty cool seasons. You can find them in the description. Now, I want to be clear in saying that I got a ton of good suggestions for this. I easily got a few full seasons worth of ideas I was happy with. So evidently I had to cut a lot of stuff, which came down to many complicated factors for making a season that could be seen as plausible. Is there enough of each medium or type of character? Are there any matchups that feel too similar to each other, or enough that can fit each of the animation styles? Is there enough relevance to most of them, since, you know, that's important for making a semi-realistic season? Basically anything that goes into making sense for a collective group of episodes overall, which means making tough decisions. I certainly didn't choose my 16 favorite matchups that were suggested. So if you're in the server and confused about how one fight didn't get in but another one did, just know it was possibly due to trying to make the season work as best it could, and I hope you're not too disappointed. This is a normal 16 episode season and we'll be going from the premiere in order to the finale, so without further ado, let's begin. First up, we have Gohan vs. Ultraman Zero, a first-time Dragon Ball premiere episode, believe it or not, and one that proves to be unique. It's actually a very versatile series that can work against many others, and bringing in Ultraman in this way could put both these guys in a very engaging context. There are great ways to work escalation into the fight itself, like all good Dragon Ball battles, and the characters' connections based on who they are and what they've gone through work really well for the writing. It has epic written all over it while also bringing something new to Death Battle. I could see it being a real sleeper hit, introducing a lot of people to Ultraman and what it has to offer. For episode 2, we have Sackboy versus Maxwell. You've all seen me bring up this fight way too often lately, but it's still very much the server's poster matchup currently. Not putting it in would just be incorrect. There's no doubt that a battle like this is a massive undertaking. It almost rivals Toon Force debates in what's required from the analyses and animation. But after episodes like Bill vs. Discord, just imagine how far they could go with this, pulling out stuff that is true to the series, but also insane shit that you would never anticipate in 100 years. The direction could really make or break the experience, but to me, these great games have way too much potential to just toss to the side. For episode 3, we have Annihilus vs. Larfleeze, a Marvel vs. DC fight that doesn't have A-list characters, but could still be very interesting. In my opinion, episodes with characters this powerful can be a lot more effective with villains. We've seen it when Death Battle leans into the craziness of the personalities on top of the abilities. Not only that, there is always more fun stuff to go over with comics, always. This could lead into more Fantastic Four, the Lantern Corps, aliens in general, and that's what it should do. Let's be honest, there's gotta be some real selling points for something like this to stand out, but that doesn't mean they don't exist or couldn't be taken advantage of. For episode 4, we have Kylo Ren versus Edelgard, a Star Wars match early on as usual, but one that goes in a bit of a different direction. Kylo is the primary sequel character I think a good majority of people would be hyped to see on the show, and getting Guts versus Dimitri means we have a decent segue to talking about everything that happened with the Adrestian Empire. Not to say that all of the connections are incredibly unique, but they still boil down to many core aspects of the characters and could motivate a grim, intense feeling fight. There's a lot to work with for the combat, the writing, for the dialogue and rundowns. I just see this as an episode Death Battle would eventually make. I think it fits well here. For episode 5, we have Yuji versus Denji. We gotta get at least a couple anime protagonists in here, and this is a no-brainer. Whether or not you have issues with Gojo versus Makima, Death Battle knew how to make it successful. They went into a lot of of detail, they included the most important stuff in the animation, they could easily do the same thing here. And since they've already explained the functionality of both series before, this gives them more freedom to discuss the characters specifically. You know, their struggles, their relations, their development, on top of their powers. Give it a tone that resonates with the genres they're part of, and I say we got something that most people can appreciate. For episode 6, we have Rex Salazar versus Max McGrath, Generator Rex versus Max Steel. This is one of those episodes where not everyone will be familiar with the franchises, but I believe everyone could enjoy if done properly. A big draw for this one, aside from awesome technology, is classic hero relatability. It's difficult to hate these characters, and Death Battle could demonstrate how easy it is to like them. As long as the writing and portrayals hold up, as well as giving us a creative fight, it could easily be just a great time. I get Miles vs. Static vibes from this to some degree. Plus, it adds a new beloved cartoon and a new toy line for the show, which I think is pretty cool. For episode 7, we have Noel vs. Aigis, a long-awaited return of two popular Japanese video game series that could mesh really well together. This is an idea where the connections are not necessarily crazy long, but are strong and distinctive, and when some game matchups can be very general, that's really important. There's going to be quite a lot of backstory and lore needed to explain these characters properly. BlazBlue is going to be a headache and a half, but that's certainly manageable and part of what makes good portrayals and representations. And that's not even getting to the animation. It's a good candidate for a fast-paced spectacle, and we could use some of that. For episode 8, we have Sarge vs. Soldier, a highly requested Crazy Patriot battle for the mid-season finale. This could actually fall very close to the 4th of July, assuming the season has a normal late March start date, and since this is all made up, I'm gonna say that it does. There's not much I think needs to be said here. RVB and TF2 is the perfect combination for humor, hijinks, and a whole lot of fun along the way. The connections are there, it could give both series a unique episode of their own. I'm not saying there's no way it could flop, but it has a lot of the right ingredients to make it enjoyable and worthwhile. And for this, that's good enough for me. For episode 9, we have Spike Spiegel versus Revy, going a bit older for our second anime versus anime fight to get the most amount of fans involved. It's great to have a good anti-hero battle, that alone can make for some fun banter and analyses, especially with these two, and that would make it a decent introduction for those not too familiar with them. If Death Battle leans into the stuff that is not incredibly common for them, like the sharpshooter action or anything along those lines, we could get something that's new feeling and enjoyable to watch, not to mention with a hard-hitting track. I hope people would be excited, because I definitely don't think this is one Death Battle should shy away from. For episode 10, we have Deathstroke versus Taskmaster, a more grounded yet still well-rounded supervillain battle with amazing potential for choreography. This is one of those episodes where there should be extremely minimal humor, and as weird as that is to say, we've gotten tons of episodes like that before that have turned out great. The focus needs to be on the combat, how the combat works, the intensity. It needs to be taken seriously in a way that does not become a joke. These guys have done so much to prove themselves as the top of the street tier. This is the one where it should feel a lot, though not completely, like full-on respect threads. That's how it would be the most effective. For episode 11, we have Perry versus Skipper, getting some good old-fashioned Disney and DreamWorks in there to add to the cartooniness. This is such a cool way to introduce franchises. Perry and Skipper aren't the main characters of Phineas and Ferb or Madagascar, but their roles within their worlds are basically just as big, which is so funny. And thanks to this, they have more than enough definitive moments and tricks up their sleeves to make for strong analyses and a memorable fight to follow. In some ways it feels quite random, but in other ways it actually works really well conceptually. Just treat it with enough respect, and it will work. For episode 12, we have Constantine versus Raido, getting a bit of a spookier vibe as we move closer to Halloween. To me, this is the kind of detective battle that fits the most seamlessly into the show. It's so easy to incorporate their investigative and combative sides to the proper degrees. After so much DC and Marvel magic lately, I think this is a cool way to switch things up. It's not just about abilities, it's not just about super cosmology or whatever, and it has a nice mellow personality which could make for some snappy writing. Couple that with interesting fight sequences, and this could really be a solid production, in more ways than one. For episode episode 13, we have Freddy Krueger vs. Pennywise, the true full-on Halloween episode, and one that a good amount of people have been itching for. It's the horror fight that's gotten the most widespread traction in the community as of late, and it has every means available to it to be equal parts off the wall and terrifying. With all the lore and capabilities that make up these absolute icons, the analyses and animation could prove exactly why they live up to their reputations and show exactly what they are. There's no part of this episode that couldn't go so hard, and it's a great choice for an episode in general, not just for the creepy time of year. For episode 14, we have Grog Strongjaw vs. Jala. You could call this the really unexpected episode of the season. It seems like each season has at least one, and there are so many ways that it could be a lot of fun. There's honestly a lot in both Critical Role and Brawlhalla to dive into. They come from such different corners than what Death Battle is known for, and that can make for such a cool style of presentation. If this episode focuses as much on where the characters come from as it does on who they are, it would naturally be entertaining and an informative introduction for a good amount of viewers. Maybe a little risky, but Death Battle's no stranger to that. It could work as a production. For episode 15, we have Little Mac vs. Ippo. It's been a long time since we've gotten a boxing match, and now we have another one that could be even better this time around. I think this works well as a fan favorite penultimate episode. Even if you don't know the characters that well, you've definitely seen them around and could get invested in them through the analyses. This is definitely one where the choreography and Flash need to share the spotlight for the animation to look the best it can, and with Death Battle's current quality, I see no reason why that couldn't look spectacular. It feels like a matchup that was made for Death Battle, and the final product could live up to that. And finally, for the season finale, we have Homer Simpson versus Peter Griffin, ending things off with the most iconic cartoons for the older demographic. At this point, it's clear to me that Death Battle likes some of their finales to be different, and fans like the finales to be major matchups. This spills into both categories. Completely separate cartoons from this season and the show itself, a ton of material to implement into the video from start to finish, and two huge names that could catch nearly anyone's attention. Just imagine the insanity of this comparison combined with the standard finale treatment. It could be epic, silly as hell, and one to remember. It is all there waiting to come to life. And that marks the end of our 2024 Dream season. I hope you all enjoyed watching, and I hope everyone in the Discord server is content with my picks. There might be a couple deviances from normal Death Battle trends, but I think it's still a very well-rounded selection. Again, you can join the server or find previous Dream Season videos by clicking the links below. Like and subscribe too if you want to see more stuff like this. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.